Hi, everybody. Before we get to another great interview, the Two Opinionated podcast could really use your help. And it's easy, it's free. IMDb, which is the entertainment database, imdb.com, named us a top 100 podcast. We came in at number 82. That's a big deal because there's 15 million podcasts and growing. So to be named to anybody's top 100 list, pretty big deal for us. And the way you can help is to go to imdb.com, look up the Two Opinionated podcast, and that's it. Just bringing our page up. That traffic really helps us out. Our YouTube channel is MeisterCon Pod. All we ask is that you subscribe. It's also free, but that really helps us to attract these amazing guests that we keep bringing on the program. And that's it. 2 easy ways for you to support us, and we would really appreciate the help. Now let's get to that interview. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Two Opinionated. I'm so excited today. I've got actress Andrea Thompson with me. So welcome, Andrea.
Thank you, Michael. I'm pleased to be here.
I'm so happy that you're here. I've been a fan of yours forever.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's let me think. Like
What was it going back to?
I was a big Babylon 5 fan, but I was just as big at NYPD Blue. So I loved you on those. But I remember you being on Falcon Crest. Is that the right?
I was on Falcon Crest.
I was going between that and Dynasty. I was like, no, I think it was Falcon Crest.
No, Falcon Crest. No, those were the days of they used to call bombshells or vixens or like vixen. What the hell is that? No.
Well, and I don't remember, did Falcon Crest, that was 80s, wasn't it?
Let's see. I moved to Los Angeles in 89. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that era was kind of winding down at that point in time, like the nighttime soaps. Jane Wyman was on the show.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, like a wonderful, wonderful cast.
I remember going to the theater with my high school girlfriend and seeing Wall Street, and you had an appearance in that. I remember that one.
Yeah.
And that was probably somewhere in the mid 80s, somewhere in there.
Yeah, it was. It was in the mid 80s. Yeah.
I had this girl, and
it's funny to watch that movie now because you see Gordon Gekko with the phone, and it's
right?
like size correct.
I always laugh at that one, and even like a show like Seinfeld, they pull the cell phone and have to put the cord out and
right.
take both hands to hold it.
Well, I don't know. It's retro now. We got flip phones again, but I wouldn't want one.
No, it's very Star Trek though.
Yeah, no, it's okay. Live without it.
I dated.
I'm saying this as I think my computer is dying. I was 3 minutes late to come on with you because I was shooting an email out to a client, and suddenly I don't know what, there's some kind of gremlin in my computer. Maybe I'm just going to turn it off after we're finished and it'll be fine. Okay. But suddenly I was typing all caps and it had switched to the Spanish keyboard instead of the English keyboard. So I'm like, either I've got a software problem or my keyboard is dying. So
it's we like our phones and our laptops have so much on them. It's a little stressful if you're having a little trouble with them.
Oh, it was, yesterday we had a citywide power outage.
Ooh.
And that kind of made everything in my house wonky for a while, including my internet signal. So finally, after a while, I was like, okay, forget it. I'm going to go run some errands instead. I mean, I'm not getting anything done here.
No, that's right. That's right. We managed to make it for a long time with no phone and internet. I kind of miss those days. And I remember just as bad as everybody else.
Oh, yeah, of course. No, I remember standing in line in Manhattan to use a payphone. You'd be behind if somebody tried to make a second phone call, it was like the whole line went crazy. Hey!
There was that brief period in like the 90s, early 2000s where we all had pagers. And then we had to go find a phone booth to make a phone call.
And then I had a car phone when I moved to Los
Oh, yeah,
Angeles.
but was
Can
it
you
like a
imagine?
bag phone?
I mean, it's like, how silly is it? No, they would like wire it into your car and
Yeah,
you
yeah.
could like take phone calls. Now,
Yeah,
of
but it
course,
was
it's
like a
illegal to
regular
talk on a
phone.
phone. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I actually had one of those.
You were fancy.
I was fancy. I thought I was fancy. That's what.
Well, so Andrea, let's start this way. Talk a little bit about what you're up to now,
Uh-huh.
because I know you don't just act. You didn't just do that. You had lots of stuff you were doing. But what are you up to
Yeah.
now?
Yeah. I live in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, and I work with a company called Proterra Partners that deals in sales and acquisition of land and sustainable development, environmentally conscious development.
Oh, I like
So
that.
yeah, and Vallarta is growing, and so it's growing in popularity. I mean, there are a lot of pluses for Americans and Canadians who move to Vallarta, especially for retirees,
Yeah.
um, because you can have a, a lifestyle and a quality of life that's really unattainable for many people in the United States now. But we're also seeing a lot of people with young families move down from the US and Canada, and they'll bring kids who are, 3, 4, or 5 years old. Um, and, their kids are growing up bilingual. They're growing up the way I grew up. I don't know where you grew up, but I grew up, my mother kicked us out of the house in the morning and
Right.
said, do not come back. Or if we came back, it was like, what are you doing in my house? Get out.
You could come back around lunchtime and they'd reach a sandwich out the door.
Oh yeah, my mom would throw it. She had like Ziploc bags and she'd just throw them out the door. And having raised two kids in Los Angeles, there was no way you could turn your kids loose. I mean, it was just not a possibility. And so my kid came from, who was 12 when he came down from Los Angeles, sitting in a car every day for hours a day just to get to the 10 miles to his school. It's like an hour each way. He came down here and fully embraced the lifestyle. Within a couple of months, he was walking down the street, no shoes on, no shirt. All of the managers at all the restaurants on the beach knew him because he would go in and say, here, can I give you my cell phone and my keys and my flip-flops? I'm going to go swimming. And then he'd come out and he'd be hungry, he'd want some lunch. And so he'd say, well, can you call my mom? And they'd call me and go, hey, you have a kid here named Bennett. He's 12. I'm like, yeah, that's my kid. He goes, well, he wants to have a quesadilla. Is that okay by you? Sure, it's fine. I'll come by after work and I'll pay you. So he met people all over Vallarta that way, in a way that it gave him a part of his childhood that was completely different from anything he had ever known. So, I mean, he's back in the US now. He's in college. He's doing his own thing in Salt Lake City. And he has a bunch of friends there and he likes that. But I'm glad he got to enjoy the kind of freedom that growing up in Mexico gave him.
Well, it sounds like, I mean, that type of childhood kind of gives you your independence. I think it's good for kids when they
Oh
have
yeah.
that. We just can't really do that anymore. So it sounds like you found a workaround.
No, no, no. And in fact, when he left to go out on his own, had absolutely no fear about it. And he had everything figured out. I was like, wow, you've done an admirable job.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Yeah,
Well, good for you. Good for
yeah.
Well, so I know that you did acting for a long time. You may still be doing some of that. You're
No, I was in it for 30 years, that
a
and
career.
broadcast news.
Yeah, you did some.
I had a great career. I mean, just for a variety of reasons, it felt like the right time to leave. I mean, first of all, my youngest was born when I was 45. So, every once in a while people would come up and go, so you're the mom or the grandma? I'm like, I could be both, right? So, there was
I'm
that. And
impressed with that because I'm in the pawpaw stage now. I've got
yeah,
5 grandkids and I love them to death, but it's so it's so exhausting. And I know it was when I was younger raising kids. But I'm impressed with that you started a little later and you have the energy to.
Well, no, I started at 32 with my oldest, and then the 12-year gap, and it was just a big surprise, you know. So I felt like I needed to make some changes to my life. There were changes in the industry that I wasn't crazy about because entertainment's changed a lot over the years,
Oh, yeah.
and it's been it it went from being a much more collaborative and creative process, I think, when I initially started. But a lot of things have changed. And then also, I was coming up against, I was like, okay, well, I'm getting older. So will I continue to work? Am I going to go get a facelift? I was like, yeah, I don't think so.
Yes,
No.
do that.
So no. So I've always believed in doing what you love, you know, and I loved entertainment. I loved being working in broadcast news. But I also loved real estate always. I mean, my ex-husband and I, Jerry, used to go to brunch every Sunday, and then we'd hit as many open houses as we could afterwards. Because mostly we just wanted to see inside people's houses. It was, you know, just like a weird kind of voyeuristic thing. And see different styles of architecture and
Love that.
materials that people were using. Yeah. I mean, we weren't actually in the market for a house, but you know, we enjoyed doing that. And and I've invested in real estate, and I've, you know, bought and sold real estate. So it was a natural for me in so many ways. Plus, it was a way for me to stay home and raise my youngest. My oldest was raised by two shifts of nannies while I did one TV series after another.
Yeah.
So mom left the house at 4:30 in the morning, and mom got home at 10:30 at night. And you know, there were times when I wasn't seeing my family at all.
That's
It's just
hard.
the nature of television. It's a lot of hours.
Oh, it's that. Yeah. Yeah. Well, and back then it wasn't like we were doing series. You know, now you do 8 episodes is like,
Mhm.
and back then it
Yeah.
was 22, 24,
26. When I was
20.
on Falcon Crest, it was 26. I'm like, geez, will this season ever end?
As
You
a
know,
fan, I kind of miss those days, although there was a lot of filler episodes. So,
there were, and then, you know, and this was like, of course, you know, pre cable channels. I mean, there weren't that many, but you used to have a schedule, you
yeah.
know, and so you knew every week, wow, I get to sit down and I'm looking forward to this or invite people over. But then the network started messing around with the schedule, and you know, and
There was
then
a brief
cable came
time
in and
there
all went
where
to hell.
if there was a brief time there where if you missed an episode, you were just out of luck until
Oh
the
yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
mean,
Until we
thankfully
had,
we got VCRs not too
yeah,
long.
we had VCRs. It's so funny to think about all the technology that in this lifetime I've gone through, you
A
know,
lot.
from 8 tracks and, you know,
Hey,
my
the
things like
car.
35 millimeter camera, you know.
Oh yeah, the car I got my driver's license with when I was 15 was our family station wagon, and that's what it had
Yeah,
was a track in it.
yeah.
I listened to
Gliding across the
Yellow
dashboard.
and Donna Summer, and
Oh
then
gosh, yeah, of course.
my dad was more like Waylon Jennings and Johnny Paycheck. You know, he's more kind of
Sounds like we had the same parents.
yeah. Well, so did you act when you were coming up through school, or were you like going to school for journalism? You know, how did that transition?
Um, you know, it's acting. Yeah, I mean, I did school plays and things like that, but I mean, it was what I always knew I wanted to do, and I mean, journalism never even entered the picture then, except that I did grow up in a family that was, especially my mother, that were very interested and engaged in current events and not just local events, not just United States events, but what was going on in the world. And I mean, I remember, you know, the old black and white TV, you know, with the cloth panels and stuff. I mean, you know, and it was in my parents' bedroom. So that was like a big deal if something was going on TV. So, I mean, I was with my mother while she was weeping on sitting on a chair in front of the TV when John F. Kennedy was assassinated. And She was very pregnant at that time and went into labor later that day, but she was devastated. I mean, I remember as a kid seeing really disturbing footage from Vietnam
Yes.
during the war there. And, and also knowing what it was, what it took to get those images out of the country. I mean, they were shooting with film and then they would have to get this stuff over the border. They'd have to get it out of the country and back
Right.
to the newsroom and, very different process than what we had today. So I was always very engaged in that, but my focus for the majority of my life was entertainment, and it was um, only at about 35 that I started thinking, you know what, I'd really like to work in the field. So I started with a man named Jack Hubbard, who was my journalism coach, but he'd been a journalism teacher at several um, renowned schools, and I was able to make a connection with someone to make a connection with him to work with him privately. So before I would get up to work to go to, well, I would get up 2 hours earlier before going to work on NYPD Blue. So like 3:30 in the morning. And my assignment every day was to rewrite the entire front page of the New York Times, but write it for broadcast, which means, short, concise sentences. You want to keep everything in present tense for the most part. And you want to really write to about a sixth grade level, which is a sad commentary.
It is kind of sad.
Yeah,
You
so
gotta, you gotta, I always hate it when shows dumb it
yeah.
down.
Oh yeah.
Really thought about the newspaper, but or even media, uh, but I guess it's the same. You have to make sure in order to reach the most people that you're
You
talking
do. And
language.
you do.
And
It's why we have the 15-minute news cycle. It's most people are not willing to commit to more than that.
I know.
Other for me, I still love 60 Minutes. I love CBS Sunday Morning. I mean, that's like must see TV for me. I don't have to, of course, sit down and watch it at exactly that time. We all have the freedom to watch anything at any time. But for me, Sunday morning, I've got a cup of cappuccino. I'm sitting on my couch watching CBS Sunday Morning, and then after that, Face the Nation with Margaret Brennan. I mean, that's my Sunday morning.
Yeah, that's
And then I
not
even go to the beach.
all right. That actually sounds pretty nice. Well, I remember I
Everything
remember
in
you.
Vallarta is within 10 minutes of a beach, the entire city. I mean, we're just right there.
Why am I not living there? I think I need to
I
check.
don't know. You might have to check it out. You might come to Mexico City and fall in love.
Well, it's very likely.
Yeah.
I tend to do that very easily.
Yeah. Yeah. No, what brought me down here was uh I came down on vacation and I had been coming here for a long time. The first time I was in Vallarta, I was like 23 years old. So we're going back over 40 years. And it was just a little tiny town. And there was no Malecon. We have this beautiful Malecon now, this broad walkway along the ocean with an enormous amount of sculptures. The city of Puerto Vallarta commissions sculptures every year to add
Peace.
to different, because this is a town that's very much about the arts, music, theater. Um, but when I was first here in 1983, it was like cars were still driving on a road, and there were only about two streets in, and that was it. That was Vallarta. It was just it was a small town.
Yeah.
But I came down 8 years ago on vacation because I don't know, somewhere in the back of my mind, I always thought, well, you can hear
I can hear.
they go down the street selling everything from avocados to mops, whatever. It all comes to the house. Um, but let's see, where was I? I came down. I always in the back of my mind had that I would retire in Mexico one day. I was like, that place, my mother loved Mexico. I've always loved Mexico. I've traveled all over Mexico. And I was like, well, yeah. So I brought my two boys down and I saw that Vallarta was going through a construction boom. Um, and I looked around because I was selling real estate in Los Angeles, and I looked around and I thought, I don't have to wait for retirement. Let me just move on down here right now, enjoy the life, and work at the same time. So spend my working years in a place that I really love. I got into a place where I got to tell you, I did not love Los Angeles anymore. I didn't love anything about it. It was just there's for me no quality of life there anymore. It's
Plus,
just
it's
like
so expensive there now.
it's expensive, it's crowded, the
Well, the
traffic
homeless
is,
situation's gotten just
oh man. I mean, when I left 7 years ago, it was awful.
yeah. Well, it's
It
worse
was
now.
awful. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I
Well,
remember you on
I mean,
CNN.
we've got our homeless here, but we know their names and stuff. And, just like Kelly from Canada. And always when high season comes, all of the people who stay here for 6 months, they bought a home and they stay for 6 months. They come down and you'll see that all of our local homeless people, they've got really nice haircuts, they've got new clothes, they're sitting at restaurants because somebody bought them a meal. I mean, it's kind of I mean, I don't know what homelessness is like in Mexico City or
Yeah.
the, the extent to which that exists. I mean, Vallarta is still small enough where I think people see other people. I think that unfortunately, the bigger a city gets, the less caring it becomes.
Yeah,
So,
that's sad.
yeah,
Yeah, that's pretty sad.
yeah,
Um, did you and Jerry meet on Babylon?
yeah, we did.
I assumed you did, but I was like, well, they may
Yeah.
have met somewhere before then.
No, no, we never. I think he'd only been an actor for a couple of years.
Well, he was
When,
a talented guy if he'd only been doing it for a few years at that point.
very talented guy, he's the smartest guy in the room, and the funniest guy too. I mean, he was a very special human being.
Well, so they keep talking about remaking that show. What if they give you a call?
They're not going to give me a call. I can guarantee you.
Well,
And
they
why would I go back to the US? I live in paradise. Now, it's funny. It's hard for me to go back to the US sometimes. I went last December, San Diego to meet both of my kids there. And I've lived in Mexico for so long now, and people are so polite, almost excessively polite here, that when I go back to the United States, I get butthurt. I feel like everybody's rude. I'm like, why did he talk to me like that? You know, what, you don't say hello? I mean, so it's yeah, no. I couldn't go back to the US. And there's no point in me going back to entertainment either. I mean, I had a great run. I had an amazing 30 years. I had a lot of fun. I met a lot of people. I learned a lot of things. Um, but I'm really happy with where I am now.
I love
It's
that.
Yeah,
That's pretty. And you did have a good run. Your detective on NYPD Blue was my favorite character. I absolutely loved that
yeah.
character because she was kind
That
of,
was an amazing show.
she was kind of flawed and a little guarded. Especially early on in the show. Yeah, I missed that show. I was a big Hill Street Blues fan, so that just
Yeah.
made sense to follow into NYPD Blue. And yeah,
You
yeah.
know what's funny though is every once in a while, I'll scroll through the TV looking for something and I'll catch an episode of it on and look at it, watch it for 10 minutes and go, you know what? It's still relevant. It has not aged badly. I mean, it's still a very relevant show and it's such a well done
Well,
show. The writing,
the writing was so good, and the character development was so good. Which a lot of times, like now, everything's a procedural now, so you don't get a lot of character development, and that's the
right.
I like. So I thought NYPD Blue did a terrific job. I mean, what a cast!
Yeah. Yeah. Amazing.
If you go
Amazing.
back now, it's even better. It was such a good
Yeah.
cast. If you go back and look, and you're like, everybody in there was good.
Everybody was good. Everybody was great. And everybody was so lovely to work with as well. And it was an absolute joy to go to work every day.
You got to be a detective. You got to be a psychic on Babylon.
I
although,
got to be
although
a
your character,
JAG lawyer. I've
oh,
been a serial killer.
I
I've
meant to tell you,
been,
I always play the, if I'm having somebody on the show, I go around to everybody in the family. I'm like, what do you know them from? And a lot of times they don't know anything. But my dad's favorite show is Jag, and so he knew.
oh yeah.
He was like, oh yeah, Jag. He said, I loved her on Jag. So I was like, hey, first time he's ever noticed or recognized somebody. That was a good show. And if I remember
Yeah.
right, you were on it before it switched networks.
Yes, I was. I was. But it was, it was a fun show.
Yeah.
It was, I mean, it was a little silly because, I mean, so attorneys are running around, solving crimes and
Well,
stuff.
don't look too close.
And the 5-inch heels I had to wear because
Yeah.
David James Elliott was so tall. So I had 5-inch Charles Jourdan heels that occasionally, if you remember, I did a lot of running on that show. It was me booking it in 5-inch heels up
You should
escalators and
you
stuff.
should just teach people to wear those because
Oh,
you see all
I
these
can't wear
women
them
now that
anymore.
try to wear them and they look like baby deer.
That's funny.
I'm like, you probably need to practice that before you try to wear those. They just throw them on.
Well, you know what? I've always loved my high heels, not 5-inch heels, but I always loved my high heels. So even when I moved here to Vallarta, and I mean, our streets are cobblestone here, I was still wearing heels, but I lost the ability to wear heels, my beloved high heels, during COVID. I spent a year in flip-flops and suddenly I could not wear high heels anymore. So I went to a foot doctor and I'm like, I don't understand it. I can't wear high heels anymore. They're killing me. And she goes, I know the same thing happened to me during COVID. She goes, it's fine. It's not really good for you anyway. I'm like, yeah, but I have 20 pairs of high heels now. I
COVID,
can't
I
wear
mean, in
them.
addition to all the terrible things with COVID, it had the weirdest stuff that you
I
had to
know.
deal with.
That is so strange.
I mean, I never
Yeah.
was thought of that one. Okay.
Happy hour on Zoom. I mean,
Thank goodness for Zoom. I say that a lot, and I would give it up if we could have skipped that mess. But COVID did not hurt us as a podcast because everybody was just home looking for stuff to do. So we had a lot of guests that we probably normally wouldn't have been able to get, but they were just home.
yeah, everybody, the whole world was home.
I know it was kind of nice for about 2 weeks, and then we all got tired of it.
Yeah, the first 2 weeks, well, it was like all the uncertainty, but it seemed like in the very beginning that it was just going to be a couple of weeks
Yeah,
thing,
couple weeks.
until they got a handle on it. It
We were
was
all
like,
making our bread, drinking our wine on Zoom, and
I know, right?
then we're like,
Exhausting everything that was on TV. It's like binge watching shows. Yeah.
I know, and you even with all the content, it was still hard to find something after a couple months.
Oh, it was. I was rewatching stuff.
Me too.
I went through all the seasons of Modern Family again.
Oh, I did that too.
I
I was
needed a
bouncing
laugh.
between sitcoms. I like hit all of them.
Yeah. If there was ever a time we needed a laugh, it was then.
Well, and you were so nice to reach out to me about the Parkinson's stuff, and once I started having trouble, and I hadn't been diagnosed yet, but I had a pretty good feeling that maybe that was what was going on. I started watching stuff that would make me laugh because I'd feel better.
Of course.
Get a little dopamine rush, and I'm like, I need that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we all do. I think we all do.
Yeah. Laughter's not too bad, although, I'm an emotional guy, so I could laugh and cry within minutes of each other, and it's fine. I'm like, I always feel better after either one, so I'm like, okay.
Well, that's healthy. Yeah, it is.
Your poor character on Babylon 5, she had a hard, like, if you really look at her story arc, it was pretty rough.
It was an interesting
It was
character to
not
play.
easy on her.
No, it was an interesting role. And just interesting the way it came about. I mean, I auditioned for Claudia's role.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, and when I went
I
into
would like to
audition
have
that
seen that.
day, I know, isn't that funny?
Yeah.
When I went into audition that day, I wasn't feeling well. And I had a friend over a couple of days earlier. She had just gotten back from Paris. She came by my house to pick up her car that she had parked at my place, so you don't have to pay for parking at LAX. Gave me a hug and a kiss. 2 days later, she calls me and she goes, "Oh my God, I'm so sick. I've got this terrible flu." So I get the flu, and I probably made people sick at the audition too. I feel terrible about that. But I had the audition to go to. Then I went home and was sick for about 10 days. And my agent calls after I was like a couple weeks later and he goes, "Oh, you got the role." And I'm like, "What role?" He said, "Talia Winters." I said, "Who's Talia Winters? I have no idea who that is." And he goes, "You know that show, Babylon 5." And I was like, "Yeah, but that's not what the character's name was." And I don't remember. He goes, "Well, they just offered you the part." And I said, "Oh, okay, great.
You
Great."
think Psychic would have known that you got the role, but okay.
Yeah. Only play one on TV. So yeah, that was where I met Jerry. And you know, and I think it might have been on a gag reel. But I'm not sure.
Really?
One of the first scenes I did with Jerry was in an elevator. And it's that scene where I can read his mind and I give him the elbow.
Yep.
So we had rehearsed the scene a couple of times, and then, sound speed, rolling action, and the elevator doors open, and Jerry's standing there like this, but he had dropped trowel. So his pants were down around his ankles. So everybody, of course, completely fell out. And we got on really well from then on.
How could you
So
not?
yeah, right. He never took himself too seriously,
Well, what a great
and that's always refreshing.
it is. I love people like that that
Yeah.
can kind of just they're a little self-deprecating. They don't take themselves where you can talk to them, they're not going to take offense. I just
Right.
love those type of people.
Yeah.
Hopefully I'm one of those. I feel like, I'm
I think you are.
pretty easygoing.
I
I'm
think
definitely
so.
self-deprecating. I will absolutely tell the truth about all the nonsense that I get into.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I did
Like what?
today? And this is typically me is I try to do something helpful and I totally screw it up. So all I was trying to do was I had scrubbed out the bathroom, the shower, and I was
Okay.
just trying to rinse it out. So I took we've got a tub that's next to a standing shower. So I took the nozzle from the tub and I was just turning it on to spray out the shower. Well, I had the thing turned around and all I did was spray the ceiling,
No,
the
no.
wall. I soaked the entire bathroom, didn't touch the shower. So then I just spent the whole morning cleaning up.
How'd you get the ceiling? You just mop it?
Basically, I had to get a chair. I was just praying I'd get it cleaned up before my wife came in. She was in
Yeah.
working. I was like, I got to get this cleaned up or I'm going to have to explain it.
Now you can pretend it didn't happen.
Yeah, I didn't say anything. I was like, the walls probably need to wipe down anyway. When do you ever do that? Occasionally you got to clean them.
Me? Never.
I know, me, never either.
I have a lovely lady who comes and cleans my house.
Oh, isn't that the best? But it's so hard to find somebody that's good.
No, she's become a Carmen. She's like family now at this point in time. In fact, during COVID, when none of us could go out, I just told her, just come by my house once a week and let me pay you. Because a lot of people lost jobs. And here in Mexico, we don't have the same social backup system that we had in the US where you could get unemployment, where you could get food stamps. It was more about, people helping other people and food banks and things like that. So, for the first, God, it was like almost a year before vaccines came out. I just told her, come to my house every week and I'll pay you. Because she got fired let
Yes.
go, not fired, but let go by everybody else. So yeah, we built a really good friendship over the years, and it's just, a reality of life that in Los Angeles, if I had a housekeeper in, it was $125, and here to have a housekeeper, it's $40.
Amazing.
And I have a 3-bedroom, 3-bath house
Yeah.
with, a big patio and a big garden and I mean, she works for 5 hours.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And I totally get how you become friends, because when you have somebody cleaning your house, I mean, they tend to learn about you a little bit, so that,
Oh, of
they
course.
know all about you after a while.
They know where all the skeletons
That's
are.
right.
She and I, well, like I'm slowly uh, um, I'm slowly, well, I feel like this is my home and my country is Mexico now. So I'm taking on some more Mexican characteristics. And one of those most definitely is the love of coffee.
Oh,
Coffee, chocolate, pan casera, something like that with the coffee, and chisme, which is gossip. It's a national pastime, chisme. I saw a meme
well,
on
you
Facebook
bet.
one day, and they were, like there was like 8 pictures or something, and it was pictures of security cameras everywhere. But then the bottom portion of the photographs was Mexicans like looking out the window. So yes, when karma comes over, we just sit and have coffee and chocolate and gossip about people we know.
I kind of love that. What a great way to. That's a nice day.
Here, it's like nothing happens on this street that my neighbors don't know about. I mean that, and but I like that. I know all my neighbors. They know me.
Yeah,
They know when I come, when I go, what I do.
I love
You
that.
know, where I shop. I've got a Mercado Municipal 2 blocks from my house, and the Mercado Municipal are their spaces set up by the city for free for people to sell their fruits and vegetables and
Yeah.
eggs and tortillas and all of that. So I walk over, I don't know, I go to the market like 2 or 3 times a week because it's there and I don't have to stock up food in my fridge. I get whatever I
Nice.
need to eat,
So you're just eating fresh all the time.
Exactly, always eating fresh. And
Mm.
then I've got a bakery 1 block away. I've got 3 coffee shops within 3 blocks. So yeah, when I'm not working, I don't even bother to get into my car. There's no reason to
No.
because I can walk to everything in my neighborhood on top of like 50 different kinds of amazing tacos.
All right. I'm sold. I think I'm
Ah,
going to come visit.
you're gonna have to.
That's the
You're gonna have
food.
to.
Tacos for me. That's my thing.
I'm
I'll
telling
eat
you.
about anything but tacos.
Well, we have breakfast tacos, we have lunch tacos, we got dinner tacos, we got tacos after you go out and get hammered. You need tacos before you go home
I
tacos.
know those tacos.
It's funny, I've been out with friends who were born and raised here, and there's all these pop-up places that will happen where they just like it's an empty street, but at 1 o'clock in the morning, they're firing up the grill to make El Pastor, you
Ooh,
know,
love
and
that store.
and it's because we are a big tourist market where it's a big service industry. There are people who are getting off of work at the hotels at midnight. Well, they got to go eat somewhere. So
They
there
need
is
food.
always someplace open where you can get a taco.
All right, I'm sold. I'm in for that. Because you wouldn't think you could mess up tacos, but a lot of people do.
Well, first of all, if you put cheese on a taco, it's not a taco. It's
Oh,
a
but
quesadilla. No, there's no
so
cheese on
what
tacos
if
in
it's a
Mexico.
hard shell and it's got cheese?
It's not a taco. Like we don't have those shell things you have in the United States. Like, they like, will they stand up on their own? No, we
Yeah,
don't
you've
have
got
those.
the soft ones, and so
Soft ones, or
so
you
you
can
got
have dorada.
beans, that type
I
of thing.
mean, I know where the idea of the crunchy came from. It came from what they do here is that they'll put a filling inside of the taco, dip it in oil, and throw it on the grill so it is crispy and crunchy. But
Oh,
those are tacos dorada.
Well, see,
So
I've got a lot to learn about tacos.
yeah, no cheese on tacos ever. There are a few places that put beans on tacos, and I really like that a lot.
You like that? What about the
Yeah.
crumbly cheese? I like the crumbly cheese on there.
Yeah, no, I'm not a crumbly one. I like the freshly made tortillas. I mean, you go to the stand and they've got a little ball of dough and they put it and they have the traditional,
It sounds good.
tortilla press. They throw it on the grill and cook it for you. And I mean, it doesn't get fresher than that.
That does sound pretty good. What do you've got like the meat? If it's al pastor, you're gonna have pineapple. You got like onions and cilantro, maybe.
Well, they usually have like an entire kind of salad bar for every taco thing where you've
Okay.
got 4 or 5 different kinds of sauces. Definitely going to have pickled onions, definitely going to have tons of lime. Um, and a lot of them have, sliced cucumber, sliced radishes. I mean,
Oh,
all
that
kinds
sounds
of things that you
terrific.
can add to it. There, one of my favorite places I love to go, it's a carnitas place. Carnitas are breakfast tacos, so it's
Yeah,
pork.
I like
Um,
this.
and I just walk over, it's like 3 blocks from my gym. So a lot of people, a lot of Mexican people like carnitas sortido. It's where you chop up the meat and the fat together. I don't care for sortido. So the piece of pork that she's pulling out from me is like it's like pork shoulder. It's like or
Ooh,
pork loin chop because
good stuff.
she knows that I only want the lean stuff. They pile it up. There's so much meat on this one taco. I can't eat more than one taco. Squeeze a bunch of lime on it, and then they make this beautiful, freshly made salsa every day when I'm walking past it. They're making so it's fresh tomatoes, fresh onions, cilantro, loads of jalapenos. It's super spicy.
I like that.
And
I'm getting hungry now.
you know, right?
Well,
I may
so
have
are
to get
you
a taco
drinking it with tequila?
for breakfast. No.
No. Are you drinking it with like, so is it more mimosa?
No, I usually have my water bottle with me because I'm coming from the gym.
Well,
And then
that,
I got to head home and work.
I mean, if you're going to do it healthy, I guess that's okay.
Yeah. Well, no, believe me, plenty of tequila drinking goes on. Yeah.
Well, I
I'm
have,
not falling down on the job there.
I understand. I'd have that, like if I travel, then I'll drink a little bit, but I don't tend to drink when I'm home. It's more of a
Right.
flavor. But there's something about, a margarita and tacos. That's pretty good. That's not
Uh,
bad.
Vallarta is a foodie destination. It's like the number 2 spot in Mexico for foodies. And we have all kinds of foodie events all year round. We have restaurant months where all of the best local restaurants will put together a prefix menu, and you can choose between 3 appetizers, 3 entrees, and 3 desserts. And it's at a special price for like 500 pesos, which is about 25 bucks.
Yeah.
So you're eating in a 4-star restaurant, but having this wonderful restaurant month menu. There are just so many different seasonal specials. There's chili cook-offs. I mean, yeah, there is always something to eat here, something delicious.
No, everything you've said, I'm like, yes. I think I need to
Yeah,
visit.
I've never had a bad meal here in 7 years.
Well, my wife's been down there several times, and that's what she says. She's like, I eat so much when I come here.
Street food, it's all about the street food here. I mean, we've got, 5-star restaurants and, celebrity chefs and all of that kind of thing. But I really dig on the street food.
Love.
And that's everything from ceviche,
Ooh,
aguachiles, um, and then of course, there's carnitas, there's birria, which is also breakfast
that
tacos,
one, yeah.
like
Kind of like a
like
pot roast type of meat.
it's like Mexico's version of the French dip. It's in a tortilla instead.
Yeah,
So you
that's
have a
like
consomme, a
starting
broth to
to
put
fill
on
up
top
over
of it.
here some. So yeah, those are pretty good.
Yeah, there's tacos cochinita, there's mushroom tacos. I mean, uh, pretty much everything. I
Amazing.
had squash blossom tacos one night, which was quite interesting. The fried squash blossoms.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
that wouldn't be too bad, but what did they put? Like, did they put salsa with it?
yeah,
Okay, yeah. I
yeah,
can do that then.
yeah.
All right, now you've made me hungry. Now, Andrea, thank you for taking a little bit of time. I'm such a fan of yours, and it meant so much when you reached out, and I was like, oh, I got to ask her to come on the show.
Thank you. No, it was a pleasure. I mean, the time really flew
Oh,
by.
it goes by so fast. I
Yeah,
hope you'll come back at some point.
I would love to come back. And you know what? You know how to contact me. Drop me a line and let me know when you and your wife are in Mexico City.
Well, I will. I think we're coming down for spring. I wish I could remember the festival that she's wanting to go to, but it's one of the big ones down there.
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, but I will. I'll send you a note, if nothing else, to get some, some good food locations.
Restaurant recommendations.
Yeah, I gotta get some recommendations.
I have plenty.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Although it's funny. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, you go ahead.
No, I could stand here talking with you forever, but obviously it's time for you to go. It's time for me to go. I was
Well,
about to launch into Mexico
You
City restaurant. So
what I found with this podcast is, because when I started, it was my son and I, we'd be on here and talk for hours, but it's a little tough to keep people listening that long. So
yeah.
now I try to cut it about an hour, and that seems to work pretty well. So that just means you have to come back. I would love to keep talking with you. Please.
You got it.
But before I let you go,
okay.
Where can we find you on social media?
I'm on Facebook, Instagram. Most of my stuff is real estate related now.
Were you doing some real estate in LA for a while?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought you were.
Yeah, after my youngest was born, I transitioned out of entertainment at that point in time. So yeah, I was working as an agent in Los Angeles for 15 years before I came here. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But now you're plying your trade down south.
You know what? I love what I do. I help people make their dreams come true. People work their entire lives. Many of my clients, hardworking people, didn't make a fortune, but they were really careful with their money. They saved, they planned, and they'll come to me and go, Andrea, we've got $400,000. This is all we've got. If we lose this, then there's no coming back for us. We're too old. And I'm like, you're not going to lose anything here. Let me show you what you want. Let me show you what you need. And so I get to play this really integral part in people's lives, especially for people who are retiring, because I'll work with them for sometimes as much as 5 years, because they're doing that complicated Rubik's Cube of how do you time your retirement?
Right.
Whether it's the husband and the husband, or the husband and the wife, or the wife and the wife, who's going to retire when are we taking Social Security? When do we want to do this? All of the, the different things that we have to deal with, when we get to that place in our lives. So I really enjoyed that aspect of my work. And when it's the young families, because I raised a kid here in Mexico, I can tell them about the extraordinary private schools. How, in order to graduate from a high school at a private school in Mexico, you must speak 3 languages. The quality of the education is extraordinary. And, kids go to school here and they get a hug. Parents go to school and get a hug. I'm like, I had a kid who was ADHD. No teacher ever wanted to hug me in the United States. That's for sure. I get to help people with a monumental move. It's to another country, another culture, a different language, and they need to know all kinds of things. They don't need me to just sell them a house. It's to tell them who's the best attorney, the best doctors, who do you go to the dentist, where do I find this? Where do I find
actually like helping them get settled in. You're not just, here's the house, I'm out.
Yeah, no. I not only help them settle in, but I end up being friends with many of them. So, it's been an interesting journey because, it can be a little scary. It's a big leap for some people. I mean, when I came down, it wasn't a big leap because I wanted to leave for a long time anyway.
Right.
I wanted to leave after Sandy Hook.
Yeah, I totally understand that. That
was it for me. That was it. That's when I started looking for the escape hatch, but I wanted to make sure I did it, in a proper way and that I timed it properly. But, yeah, for me, that was when I started looking around, and then Mexico, just made all the sense in the world to me.
I know it was calling to you.
So it took me about a year to wind down everything that I was doing in the US. Um, but when I came down with the 6 suitcases, we got off the plane. We got to the apartment I had rented. We went upstairs. 6 suitcases, as you said, is not much. So it didn't take us long to unpack them. And we went down to the grocery store, got some food, came back up the hill because we were at this place with this beautiful, like 260-degree ocean view.
Wow.
And I put all the food in the fridge. I opened up a bottle of tequila and I was like, oh my God, I live in Mexico. This is so cool. And every day I still have that feeling 7 years later. Oh my God, I live
I'm a
in
little
Mexico.
jealous of that because that's awesome. Good for you.
Yeah.
Okay, social media. Where can we find you?
Andrea Thompson, real estate. I believe here, hang on, I don't even know my own. I work with a wonderful woman by the name of Gabriela Escandon, who does all my social media for me.
Oh, that's so nice. Good for you. You've got a person.
Yeah,
I tell people
she's
that all the time. I was like, you got
great.
a person to do that. That's a full-time job.
I'm not consistent. That's the problem with it. I'm just not consistent with it. And so she makes me look good.
Yeah, I love
Big. My other. Okay. Andrea Thompson Real Estate is my Instagram.
them.
And let's see. I don't know, maybe she changed something around here. Let's see. I know I have another profile. Huh.
Sure you do.
Gabby might have
We
done
can find
something
you.
and not told me.
I
That's
know
funny.
there. And um that's I'm guessing that you're not on are you on X or Twitter or anything like
No,
that? Yeah.
absolutely not.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of us have like we've got a Twitter account, but it's more just in case you got to log in there and see
It's
what's not.
just, you know what, there are no standards there anymore.
There's not.
And that comes from the top down. And so without guardrails, it's just become a place of hate speech, and I think you know, that kind of attitude, that kind of tone has become so prevalent in society already that I don't want to just sign on for it, you know.
No, I completely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a
Oh,
lot
I
of.
know.
So yeah. Well, Andrea, thank you so much. Please come back. Maybe in the spring we'll do it again.
Perfect.
I would
Perfect.
love that.
Thank you.
Yeah, this has been terrific. Okay, hold on one second. Oh my gosh. Listen, Andrea Thompson. I am such a fan of her. She is the nicest person. I loved her as an actress. I'm sure she'd still be incredible if she was inclined to do that. I loved her on CNN. I was a big fan of her journalism. I personally, I don't think she got quite a fair shake with that. I know there was some pushback because of her acting background. Ridiculous. She was a fantastic reporter, kind of old school reporter, which is what we need. I loved her doing that. We talked about a lot of the things I wanted to talk about, but she did so many shows that I was such a fan of. So I'm going to run through them just real quick. She made an appearance on Quarry, which was an underrated show on Cinemax, I believe. She was on Criminal Minds, Bones, The Division, Arliss. She was on a show called Nowhere Man, which was a syndicated show, kind of like Babylon 5, Hero's Destiny. She even did an episode of Silk Stockings, which was definitely a 90s based show. David Duchovny was on that as well. Murder, She Wrote. 24. I didn't get to talk about Dr. Nicole, but loved her on 24. She voiced some on The Wild Thornberrys, which was a show that my daughter watched growing up. Falcon Crest, I mentioned, Quantum Leap, Chillers, Spencer for Hire. She did an episode, terrific. I think that's all of them. Oh, and then she worked for Court TV for a while, but she was doing like introductions for NYPD Blue and some of those shows. I thought she was really good as a host as well. So really enjoyed that. I hope you did too. We'll definitely have Andrea back. I love that. She's so nice, and I've been very open with my Parkinson's diagnosis and the things I'm dealing with as I try to figure out how to handle this and how to kind of live with that. I'm very early in the journey, but she reached out to me and was just so kind. I was just floored. It just meant the world to me. I was so glad we could have her on the show. Thank you guys for tuning in. If this is your first time with us, our website is meistercon.com. Please check us out there. There's 860 episodes on there, audio and video versions. Our YouTube channel is MeisterCon Pod. Please subscribe. It's free. Really helps us out. Thank you guys so much. Until next time. Bye, everybody.